Hi again, everyone. Gary Digital Williams here on Boxing Along the Beltway. Our news and notes for this week, and a very special edition of News and Notes, as once again we celebrate two big wins in the Beltway, and brought us two more champions, one more world champion, one more regional champion, and we'll break down the numbers as we go forward. But congratulations to Swift Jared Hurd, the brand new IBF super welterweight champion, and Alantez Fox, the new WBC USNBC middleweight champion. They both won their belts Saturday night in Birmingham, Alabama at the Legacy Arena. So we're going to talk about and recap those championships on this podcast. Boxing on Beltway News and Notes brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief, from boxers to ballerinas. For shoulder pain, the muscle strain, and everything in between, Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief, the fast, safe, plant-based ointment. And once again, if you go to www.freepainoffer.com and buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. I'm going to start this podcast sort of Rachel Maddow-like. If you ever watch Rachel Maddow, she starts with a little bit of a background story that at first doesn't sound like it connects to the main story, but trust me, it does, because it's kind of the way I feel at this moment. My junior year in college at Howard University, I was taking a radio production class, and we had to interview different people. And one of the persons I interviewed for radio production was a guy by the name of Dr. Dong Jia Yang. Now, Dr. Yang was the coach and the trainer for one of the lesser-known athletic clubs. It wasn't really an NCAA-based program, but it was a club sport at Howard that was doing very well. Not a whole lot of people knew about it. It was our Taekwondo team. And I remember Dr. Young, when I interviewed him, he was listing off all the champions, the national champions that he had coming out of the club. And again, for a historically black college university, this was very, very rare. And he was sitting back in his chair, and I remember he just looked like and sounded like a proud father. He really did. And a few years after that interview, he would have three Olympians. When the Olympics were in Seoul, South Korea in 1988, they introduced Taekwondo in the Olympics, which is a national sport in South Korea. And we had three Olympians, and they won gold, silver, and bronze. Lynette Love won a gold medal. Deborah Holloway won a silver medal, and Sharon Jewell won a bronze medal that year in 1988. And I just remember Dr. Young just really, and by the way, Dr. Young was just recently inducted into the Howard University Athletic Hall of Fame. And I just remember how proud he was of that. And that's kind of the way I feel right about now when it comes to the boxing in this area. Jared Hurd is the 19th world champion that I have covered in my 33 years of doing this. With his win and Alantez Fox's win, the Beltway has had three world champions and three regional champions. The world champions, of course, Gervonta Davis, Lamont Peterson, and Jared Hurd. The regional champions, Emmanuel Alim, Lamont Roach Jr., and now Alantez Fox, just in the first 2 months of 2017. And for Hurd and Fox in particular, this one, they're all very special. Don't get me wrong, they're all very special, but there's really something really special about both these guys, because their careers kind of ran in a parallel way. They've gone in a parallel way. They both had good but not great amateur careers. They didn't win the Golden Gloves like some of the other ones did. But they have gone in a very similar pace to get where they are at the moment. And they had similar opponents that helped them along the way. And that's what we're going to talk about a lot in this podcast. Of course, the fights themselves, thanks to Ross Malovinsky, by the way, for doing a Facebook Live on Lantes bout, because unfortunately it wasn't on television. And, so I finally got a chance to see that. But we're going to talk about Jarrett first. Again, out of the 4 world champions we have right now, as far as the men are concerned, we have 6 total. If you count Torrey Nelson and Tyreshia Douglas, we actually have 6 world champions right now in the Beltway, with Gervonta Davis, Gary Russell Jr., Lamont Peterson, Jarrett Hurd, and Torrey Nelson and Tyreshia Douglas. Jarrett Hurd, out of the 4 male world champions we have, may be, quote unquote, the least likely to have done this. He did not win a National Golden Gloves like Russell did, and Davis did, and Lamont Peterson did. In fact, he was very, very close to quitting the sport altogether after his amateur days were over. And I saw a Facebook post by my buddy, the Golden Boy, Don Hollingsworth, had a picture of Jarrett Hurd. On his left was Ernesto Rodriguez, who's his current trainer, and his former trainer, the late Tom Browner, and a guy that I've talked about who helped me along the way and was really encouraging him. He passed away a few years ago. And it was Tom Browner who convinced Jarrett Hurd to stay in this game, stay in this business. And there had been certain bouts, and again, there is no one way to bring a fighter along. It's done so many different ways, and it really depends on how talented the boxer is, and how well the boxer is willing to work, and how qualified and competent his training staff is, and his promotional group is. But if you want to follow a blueprint on how to move a boxer, you need to follow the blueprint that was set for Jarrett Hurd. And I can think of a number of bouts that I can truly say, and I talk about this a lot, how one bout prepares you for the next bout and so on. But there are a few bouts in the career of Jarrett Hurd that I believe really prepared him for what took place this past Saturday, where he got to a mindset, he didn't quit, he stayed with the game plan, and he became successful. And really, if you want to start, it really started in the amateurs. And again, Jarrett Hurd, one of the reasons why Jarrett Hurd wasn't able to get to that Golden Gloves level, because in his weight class, in that time, he was boxing at 165 pounds, and we had some fantastic competition in that general area. We had Damon Nicholson, we have Enrico Goldston out of Salisbury, and we had Demetrius Ballard. And Jerry Odom every now and then would pop in that picture, but he was a little heavier at that time frame. But I remember back in 2011 during the Golden Gloves, the Washington Golden Gloves, Jarrett Hurd came up against Demetrius Ballard in what was a tremendous bout, and one of the few bouts, in fact, it was the first bout at that time, that I ever considered putting into the competition that we have every year for Beltway Boxing Bout of the Year. It was that good, folks. It really was. It was a tremendous bout. And Hurd actually knocked down Ballard in that bout. Ballard went on to win it in 2011, but it was an amazing bout. And it took a while before Hurd turned pro. He didn't turn pro until September 2012. But that was a big moment, even at that time, because he knew he could hang with the best, because the next year, Demetrius Ballard would go on to win the National Golden Gloves in 2012. And that was a big year for us, because we won 3 that year. Demetrius Ballard, Jerry Odom, who's named the outstanding boxer of that particular tournament, and Gervonta Davis would all win National Golden Gloves in 2012. Well, into his career, his sixth bout in his pro career, Jarrett Hurd fought a guy named Greg Hackett. Greg Hackett's out of Philadelphia and, has an awful record, 2-10. Right now I think he's 2-16. But the one thing Hackett does make boxers do, and this is why he gets a lot of work, is he makes guys who are prospects look very awkward. They don't always look their best against a guy like against a guy like Greg Hackett. And Jarrett Hurd, who was going to 6 rounds for the very first time in his pro career, but this is back in April of 2013. Bout took place at the Showplace Arena up in Marlboro, Maryland. And Jarrett did not look great. He did win by 60-54 twice, and he won by 59-55. But he admitted to me afterwards. We did the interview. He admitted to me he looked awkward that night. And it was tough because Greg Hackett likes to clown. He likes to switch back and forth. He likes to kind of showboat a little bit. And for a young guy, that could be an issue sometimes. And Jarrett Hurd was able to stay with his game plan. Did not look his complete best, but especially given where he'd been looking prior to, because he faced some veterans prior to that. One being Trenton Titsworth back in January of 2013. But it was a tough one for him. It really was a tough one for Jarrett in that one. But he did get the victory. He was, he shut out on 2 cards. So he did get the win, but I don't know if he looked his best at that particular night. Then a few fights later, in December of 2013, Hurd scored the knockout of the year in the Beltway when he knocked out George Armenta in a beautiful shot. Really kind of like the shot he hit Tony Harrison with Saturday night. That straight right hand was very similar, as a matter of fact, to that night. So that was a big bout for him against a veteran in George Armenta, local veteran at the time. Knocked him out in 11 seconds of the second round. His next bout at Rosecroft was against a guy named Chris Chapman. Chapman, I believe, was out of California. And I think out of all the bouts he's had, there have been a couple of majority. I think it was one majority decision that took place afterwards. But that was the one that many people thought he came the closest to losing. Many people thought actually that Chapman won that bout. Chapman came in at 11-2. It was the best opponent to date that Jarrett Hurd had fought. It was a real test. It took place in January of 2014 at Rosecroft. And many thought it was a real test for him, and it was. And one judge had the bout for Chapman, 59-55. And I thought Hurd won the bout, but it was not easy. It definitely was not easy. And he won on 2 scorecards, 59-55 and 58-56. But I think that was a bout where it allowed not only Hurd, but his group, his training staff, to kind of regroup a little bit and make some adjustments that he needed to make. And those adjustments paid off because he rolled throughout the rest of his career. And his last 4 bouts have all been in the bright lights. And he hasn't withered. He hasn't withered. When he fought Frank Galarza, that was the coming out party. When he knocked out Galarza in the 6th round back on November 2015, that was the coming out party. We called it then, the coming out party for Jarrett Hurd. Then his knockout win over Oscar Molina. He knocked down Molina in the 1st round, stopped him in the 10th round. The 6th round knockout win over former world title challenger Jojo Dan, which was the setup to the bout he took place Saturday night. And again, Saturday night, he had some adversity. He got hit a couple of times, but he was able to wear Harrison down. And his first scheduled 12-round bout, he did exactly that. He warmed down. He stuck to the game plan. I'm so excited. I'm using. I don't know what I'm pronouncing. Sometimes I apologize, but he stuck to the game plan, and he got the win. But they were all building blocks. And again, a lot of people didn't think Jarrett would get this far because, again, Jarrett was not as well known in the area as many other boxers we've had. He wasn't as well celebrated as many other boxers we've had. But this is why we named him the co-Beltway Boxer of the Year in 2016, along with Gervonta Davis, who won his title back in January. This is an amazing one. This is a great one. I mean, he did it the right way. He did it the hard way at times. When I say the hard way, going through, you have to have patience to go through your local bouts and work your way to the top, waiting for a chance at a world title. This doesn't happen all the time. Not many boxers don't have the patience to go. They want it right away. They want it now. They feel like after 10 wins, they're ready for a world title. It doesn't work that way. And that's one way it does not work, is that way. But Hurd and his crew, Ernesto Rodriguez and his staff, they did this the right way. And they earned this title the right way. And it's amazing. It's just a fantastic way to do this. So again, this is a blueprint, folks, on how to do this. They pick the right bouts, the right competition. From George Armenta, from Frank Gideon, which is that took place in October 2013. He has not faced a boxer. Hurd has not faced a boxer with a losing record. That stopped back in July of 2013 when he knocked out Joshua Burns in the second round. But I take it back. When he knocked out Issa Coulibaly on August of 2013 at the Convention Center. That's the last time that Hurd fought a boxer under 500. So his last 12 bouts have all been against quality opponents. At one stretch, he faced 3 straight undefeated boxers, and Hurd knocked out all 3 of them. Jeff Lentz, who was only 5-0 at the time, but he was a mixed martial arts boxer as well. Frank Galarza, of course, and Oscar Molina. Then he faced a former world title contender in Jojo Dan, and now the big one Saturday night against Tony Harrison. So this is the way to do this, folks. This is a fantastic way. This is a blueprint. And you want to look at another blueprint, you look at Alantez Fox. And Fox's blueprint is very similar to Hurd's blueprint, even to the point where there are a couple of similar opponents. If you want to look at some of the key points on Alantez Fox's record, I think it starts with his bout against Frank Galarza that took place in September of 2012 in Queens, New York, where he and Galarza fought to an 8-round draw. Alantez will tell you he didn't look his best that night. Galarza was people thought he was going to be a rising star. And that bout kind of derailed him a little bit. I think there was more pressure on Galarza than there was on Fox that particular night. Because a lot of people didn't know who Fox was at the time. And he went from 4-rounders all the way up to an 8-round bout. Fox did. Fox had never gone 8 rounds before. In fact, Fox had never gone 6 rounds prior to that. And once the Galarza fight took place, and again, got to an 8-round split decision draw, Fox and his crew, his father, Troy Fox, and his crew, took a brief step back in competition and got himself sort of recalibrated, so to speak. He knocked out Jimmy LeBlanc in December of 2012, won a 6-round unanimous decision over an always tough Julius Kennedy in January 2013. And then in March of 2013, a year before Hurd faced him, Alantez Fox faced Greg Hackett and won a 6-round unanimous decision. Fox actually did a better job against Hackett than Hurd did. Fox, with that tall reach and that tall height and that long reach kept Hackett at bay. He really did. He kept Hackett at bay. And Fox had very little trouble with Hackett that night. So that was an easier bout for him. He fought Keith Collins in Tulsa, Oklahoma in a 6-round decision. Dominated Zane Shaw, who's a local boxer, in September 2013. That was like the card of the year. That was also the card where Mike Reed fought Ramesses Gill. And Shaw had no shot against Fox in that long reach. Fox won a shutout. Then in January of 2015, Fox fought, I thought, a great bout against Patrick Day, won a majority decision. One judge, this is how weird this was. One judge had the battle draw 76-76. Another judge had it 78-74 for Fox. And another judge had Fox pitching a shutout, 87-72. That was the weird thing about that bout. But Fox looked very good in his big first bout in the bright lights. That bout was on Showtime, on the Showbox card. And he won an 8-round majority decision there. From there, Fox didn't fight another boxer under 500. And he had some quality wins along the way. Knockout, a stoppage over Todd Manuel in Biloxi, Mississippi. And he traveled, which is something Hurd did not do until later on. Fox started to travel. In fact, last time Fox has fought in the Beltway was in October of 2015 at the Eagle Bank Arena when he won a 5th-round disqualification victory over Eric Mitchell. By the way, Jared Hurd also fought Eric Mitchell and won over him as well, stopped him as well. So, again, very similar game plans, very similar blueprints to move a fighter along. And Kenny McNeil was a tough opponent for Lantes. He did rock him a couple of times, but again, just a big win for Lantes Fox. Just a big win for them. So if you want to see how this is done, folks, these are 2 blueprints to follow. And these guys know each other very. They've sparred with one another. They're very close in weight. And they've, again, sparred with one another. And now they've reached a point where they're among some of the best in the business. And it just leaves so much to follow now for some of our other guys coming up. You know, you look at guys like Mike Reed. You look at guys like Demetrius Ballard. Lamont Roach Jr. has a regional belt. I mean, this is going to be a wild year this year, folks. I tell you, Travis Reeves is going to fight for a regional championship in Australia next month. Of course, Gary Russell Jr. defends his title on March 11th at the National Harbor against Oscar Escandón. I mean, this is a time, folks, where we need to buckle up. And if you're not on the train with the Beltway boxers right now, you need to get on board, because this is going to be one of the best years, I think, for Beltway boxing, probably since the 90s. This is what it feels like. This is what it felt like in the 90s. I've said that time and time again. But this is going to be a glory-filled year for Beltway boxing. Juan Marsh and I saw this coming in 2012, and a lot of these guys were turning pro, and they've come to fruition just 5 short years later. And this is amazing. This is amazing. So we will continue to talk more about this throughout the coming year. I apologize. I could not be at the Golden Glove Saturday night. I actually had a real-time pain relief event with my wife, and it took a little longer than I thought it would, so I couldn't get out of there in time. So I did not make it. I'll try to get the results from the Golden Gloves people this week, post that along with the bout sheet for this week, and we will continue to follow that as best we can. But I just could not make it Saturday night at Two Road Square Raceway. Hope you can make it throughout. They'll be back there this coming Saturday, March 4th, from the Rosecroft Raceway in Fort Washington, Maryland. So that's going to do it. And it's hard to put into words, just like it was on January 14th with Javante Davis and Emmanuel Lean. It does get hard to put in words the joy that I feel right now as we have another world champion in the Beltway and Jared Hurd, another regional champion in Lantes Fox. And this is truly Strap Season 2017. Box on the Beltway news and notes brought to you by Real-Time Pain Relief, the fast, safe, plant-based ointment from boxers to ballerinas for shoulder pain and muscle strain and everything in between. Boxing Along the Beltway recommends Real-Time Pain Relief. And don't forget, you go to www.freepainoffer.com, buy $10 worth of Real-Time Pain Relief, you get a free $10 tube of Real-Time Pain Relief. Rub it on, the pain is gone in real time. I'm Gary Digital Williams. Thanks for joining me, everybody. And always remember to keep supporting what is indeed truly the best boxing in the world. The Boxing Along the Beltway. Thanks for listening. Take care.